Hey, what's going on YouTube? Naded here, back again with another video, and if you clicked on this video to learn how to time the Halo 3 power weapons and equipment, you are in the right place. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is going over this document with you guys, which is on screen now, and also talking about the ins and outs of exactly how the Halo 3 timing system works when it comes to power weapons and equipment. Now, that might sound simple, but it can become quite advanced once you know the details of it, and without knowing all the tips and tricks, you actually can lose track of the power weapons and equipment pretty easily. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually how a weapon can be delayed from spawning on the map. And the way that happens is by moving continuously after picking up a weapon from its original spawn. That will actually delay the spawn timer from starting. Meaning if someone picks up a sniper on Valhalla to start the game for your team, and they're moving around the map for 2 minutes without ever stopping, they're actually delaying that spawn timer from ever beginning, and your new sniper will not be spawning as quick as it should. And the reason for that is because a weapon's spawn timer can actually only begin one of 4 different ways, which is what I'm going to be explaining next. The first way a weapon spawn timer can begin, and the most basic way that people do it, is by standing still for 2 seconds anytime after picking up a weapon from its original spawn. Meaning, if you pick up a sniper on Valhalla and you stand still for 2 seconds right after you pick it up, that new spawn timer for the next sniper will begin right after those 2 seconds. Now, the second way a weapon spawn timer can begin is if a weapon is moved from its original spawn by an explosion and the weapon settles on the map for 2 seconds. Meaning, if someone throws a grenade at a sniper, a brute shot, someone shoots a rocket launcher and it blows a sniper away, once that weapon settles on the map for 2 seconds, the game actually will start the weapon spawn timer for the new weapon. So you can actually use that to your advantage by, let's say on pit, you start the game and you throw a grenade at the rocket launcher in the hallway. The grenade knocks the rocket launcher off of the wall, leaning up against the wall. It falls on the ground. Once it settles for that 2 seconds, now you know that's when the spawn timer begins for the new rockets, and you can time it properly. The third way a weapon spawn timer can begin is if a weapon being delayed has no ammo and is dropped by either picking up a new weapon or death. Meaning, if someone picks up a sniper, let's say on Valhalla, and they're running around the map, sniping everybody, and then they eventually run out of ammo, and they're still delaying that weapon because they never stood still for 2 seconds, then the only way that weapon is going to go on spawn is either if they drop the weapon, the empty sniper, for a new weapon, or if they end up dying. And that is when the weapon spawn timer would then trigger. And the fourth and final way is if a weapon being delayed falls from a dead player's body and settles on the map for 2 seconds, which is pretty similar to number 3, but in this scenario, the weapon that is being delayed actually still has ammo, and if it falls on the map for 2 seconds and settles, that is when the weapon spawn timer would begin. Now, the reason why you need to know all of this is because it can become quite advanced when you really look into it. And for example, for number 4, if somebody is delaying a sniper, let's say on Valhalla, and they end up dying and the weapon falls on the map only for 1 second, and somebody else picks it up, either you or maybe one of their teammates, the weapon actually is still going to be delayed. And the weapon spawn timer will not actually begin unless it settles for that 2 seconds. Now, what is in common with 1 through 4 here is basically the weapon has to settle on the map for 2 seconds, whether it's you holding it, whether it's getting grenaded off of its original spawn and it settles on the map that way, whether it runs out of ammo and it finally gets dropped, or if somebody who is delaying a weapon dies and then it settles on the map for 2 seconds. That is the only 4 ways a weapon timer can actually start. Now, once you know all this, you can really use this tactically to your advantage. You can delay the other team's sniper rifle. You can put yours on spawn, so yours is coming up faster. You can know exactly when weapons go on start the spawn timer because you see a player die that had a sniper. It's settled on the map for 2 seconds, and you can really plan your tactics and strategies a lot better when you know exactly how these weapons are going on spawn. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is actually a very interesting mechanic that probably a lot of people don't even know about. Is you can actually delay the equipment from spawning. And the only way you can do that is equipment spawn timers will be delayed from starting if a player is standing on the equipment spawn point when the item spawns on the map. Meaning, if you're standing right on top of the equipment spawn when that equipment spawns up, let's say a bubble shield, and that bubble shield timer is a minute after you pick it up normally, if you're standing right on it when it spawns, that timer actually will never begin. And the only way that the equipment timer will begin is if this occurs, the spawn timer will begin either 1 second after the player uses the equipment, or if the player dies and the equipment settles on the map for 2 seconds. And why is this important? Well, it's because you can use this to your advantage. Let's say on Blackout, or the Lockout remake in Halo 3, and you're sitting on top BR, and you know that the regenerator is going to be spawning up there. So you stand directly on top of it so that you delay the spawn timer from beginning. And now you know exactly when this spawn timer will begin, because either it's going to begin 1 second after you use the equipment, or it's going to begin if you die with it somehow without using it, and then it settles on the map for 2 seconds. Normally, when you pick up equipment, if you're not on the spawn point, the spawn timer will just begin 2 seconds actually after you pick it up, which is this next tip. But if you're on top of the equipment spawn right when it happens, you will activate that delayed mechanic, and you would have to know this tip right here to know the exact time it's coming up. So if you're on top of that equipment right when it spawns, and you just subtract, let's say like a minute or two, you know, whatever the time is from the game clock, and you think that's when it's going to come up, that's actually really wrong, because it actually won't start the spawn timer for that equipment until, like I said, either 1 second after you use it, or if you end up dying with it and it settles on the map for 2 seconds. So knowing this right here, actually, you can really outplay your opponent in terms of controlling the equipment, because you really can get down to the exact second, and having that delay mechanic really can throw people off, because a lot of people don't even really know about that. But anyways, going on to these next two tips, like I said before, the equipment spawn timers actually don't begin until 2 seconds after pickup, unless they were delayed as previously mentioned. So if you pick up a piece of equipment, let's say to start the game at 11:50, you pick up a regenerator, and the spawn timer for that regenerator is a minute, it actually won't come up at 10:50. It would come up at 10:48. Why is that? Well, it's because when you pick up a piece of equipment, it actually takes 2 seconds for it to fully register that it's in your inventory. So after those 2 seconds, then the spawn timer begins. So if you pick up a regenerator, like I said, at 11:50, it won't come up at 10:50, it would be 10:48. So knowing that 2 second delay can really be the difference between being right on the equipment, or, you know, being like, hey, where's this piece of equipment? I thought I timed it a minute. Well, it's actually a minute and 2 seconds, because you have to add those 2 seconds for the delay. And it's also the same thing for power-ups. So if you pick up an overshield or camo at, you know, 8:50 in the game clock, and you look at it, it says 8:50, and the next, you know, power-up comes up 2 minutes after that, it actually won't come up at 6:50, it would be 6:49. So if you really want to time perfectly the equipment and the power-ups, you have to accommodate for the 2 second delay after pickup for that spawn timer to begin, and also for the power-ups, it is a 1 second delay. So that, you know, and Halo is a game of seconds, milliseconds, so knowing that extra second, 2 seconds, knowing when something's going to come up on the dot, it really is a massive advantage tactically. Now, I threw this tip in here just for, you know, because it does have to do with timing, and it can, you know, be beneficial to know this. But basically, after a player dies and drops their inventory on the map, the weapon despawn time is actually 30 seconds, and the equipment despawn time is a minute. So it actually is different, you know, with weapons and equipment that get laid on the map after somebody dies. So it's good to know those two pieces of information, just because you know how long a weapon is going to be down on the map, as well as the equipment, and you can time your strategies a little bit better in game. Now, these last tips here actually have to do with map specific situations, and by that, or what I mean by that is, as you see here, I actually have every single map laid out under these tips, which show the times for every single weapon on the map, grenades, and even the explosive barrels. And I went through and I did all this research earlier this year and put down all of the times, you know, for all the weapons. But what I did figure out that would be a huge tactical advantage to know is knowing the item limits that each map have. So as you can see here on assembly, there's a number 1 in parentheses next to the bubble shield. That means only one bubble shield can be on the map at any given time. And on a lot of these maps, it is similar. So, you know, Blackout, only one of each equipment can be on the map at any time. For Snowbound, there can only be one shotgun on the map at any given time. And knowing this piece of information can be very valuable, because then you can actually know and plan on when things are coming up a lot better. Because as you can see here, let me go ahead and read this tip. It says, if an item has a 1 in parentheses next to it, only one of that item can be on the map at a time. These items won't spawn again until they're removed from the map or used. Meaning, if you have a bubble shield, let's say on Heretic, and the item limit for the bubble shield is only 1, and the spawn timer for the bubble is a minute, and you pick up the bubble shield and over a minute passes in the game without it being used, the new bubble shield won't actually spawn because there's a time, an item cap limit on the bubble shield. So the only way that bubble shield will spawn is if the first one is used. So you can actually tactically plan out and be like, hey, I have a bubble shield. If I use this, the new one will spawn instantly. So you can throw the bubble and then know that since it's been a minute, the new one is actually going to spawn right away. And it's really important to know that, because then you can actually tactically be in these areas and know, you know, hey, when I use this item, the new one is going to be coming up at this, you know, specific time. So to elaborate more on this tip is, number 1, if the spawn timer on a 1 in parentheses equipment has fully elapsed and it still exists on the map, then the next spawn will be 1 second after the equipment is activated or despawned from the map, which is what I just basically explained. So if you have a bubble shield and the equipment spawn timer is fully elapsed on that bubble shield and you still have it, once you use that bubble shield, the new one will spawn exactly 1 second after you use it. And number 2, same thing, but this one is with weapons. If the spawn timer on a 1 in parentheses weapon has fully elapsed and it still exists in the map, then the next spawn will be 1 second after the weapon is removed from the map by despawn or a 0 ammo drop. Meaning, if you have a weapon that is capped at only 1 on the map, let's say the shotgun on Snowbound, and you use all the ammo in it and you're keeping it in your back pocket, the new one actually will never spawn for the entire rest of the game. The only way that it can spawn is if you drop it when it has 0 ammo for a new weapon, or if you die and let's say there's some bullets in it, or bullets in the shotgun still, it falls in the map and then it eventually despawns in 30 seconds. The new one would spawn up a second after that if that full spawn timer has elapsed. So hopefully that wasn't a little bit too confusing, but basically the reason you want to know this is because, you know, if you know the item caps for each map, you can really plan out a lot of interesting plays and control the power weapons and equipment in a very advanced way, to the point where you're controlling things because, you know that the item cap is only 1 on the map. So you can make some very interesting plays, especially like, let's say, for example, on Construct, right? The bubble shield is capped at 1 per map, or 1 on the map at a time. You can have a bubble shield, you know, a minute goes by and you're just still holding that bubble shield and you throw it down on top middle on Construct, and you know after you throw it, the new one is going to spawn right away. So you can throw it, pick up another one, and then the players that are fighting you are like, wait, how does he have another bubble shield? He just threw one, you know? So it's a very advanced way of playing. And, you know, if you really memorize this stuff and like really, you know, think about it while you're playing, you can create some insane plays that people would never ever think of to even expect. But the last tip here is going to be another map specific tip, and there's actually 4 maps in the game that have a 3 sniper limit on the map, and that is Narrows, Snowbound or Boundless, Pit, and Citadel. And the reason that it's important to know that these maps have a 3 sniper cap limit is because a lot of times there actually can be more than 3 snipers on the map pretty frequently, or just there can be 3 snipers on the map pretty frequently. So pretty much what happens in this situation, let's say, for example, on Pit, you know, the game starts, the other team maybe gives you their sniper rifle because they die. You know, you have a sniper, your teammate has a sniper, and you're shooting for a while, but, you know, you still have some of the ammo. The new snipers are going to come up. Only 1 sniper can spawn if there's already 2 snipers on the map on Pit. So if you have your sniper, you have the enemy team sniper, and enough time goes by, and, you know, the new snipers are about to come up, whatever sniper is going to come up first, whether it's yours or theirs, that's the only one that's going to spawn, because there's only a 3 sniper limit on the map, even if there's no ammo in it. So if you're holding a sniper with no ammo and your teammate has a sniper with, like, you know, 10 shots in it or something, and 2 snipers are about to spawn, well, only one of them will come up. And that actually creates for very confusing situations, because you're like, hey, I timed the sniper, where is it? Well, these maps actually have a 3 sniper limit, and there was already 2 snipers on the map, so only 1 sniper can spawn up. And that, you know, I mean, that's a very advanced way of thinking, and also a very rare scenario, but just wanted to throw that in there because it does involve timing. And, you know, if you don't know that tip, you will get confused on why a weapon maybe isn't coming up. And that is pretty much it, guys. Just all those tips right there. If you guys actually want this document, and you want this document for yourselves, it is actually in my Discord. If you go to discord.gg/naded, I have it in there so you guys can download it, check it out yourself. And I did all of this myself, went through on stream, did all the research through all keep in mind, this is only 4v4 maps, but every single thing involving the map, with every weapon, every nade, every vehicle, and also even the explosive barrel times, all on this document, so you can know exactly when everything is coming up, and you have all the tips and tricks when it comes to the very advanced tactics of delaying equipment and weapons, when those things spawn, all the advanced strategies that you can do. And man, it gets very complicated. Halo 3 is a very, very deep game when it comes to strategy and knowing the secret mechanics of the game. But I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like down below, and please, guys, make sure to check out my live stream, twitch.tv/naded, where I stream Halo every single day. And I hope this maybe helped you guys out a lot. And like I said, if you guys want this document for yourselves, join the Discord, discord.gg/naded. It is available for you guys to download there. And I will see you in the next one.